The mess table was still set, food untouched. 14 plates, 14 seats. But no voices, no movement. And the ship wasn't moving either. The Gullwind, a Royal Navy cargo brig, was found adrift off the coast of Nova Scotia in 1819. No distress flag, no signal, no sails. But from a distance, it looked perfect. Too perfect. The first man who boarded came back shaking. He said the ship was whispering, and the voices were behind the walls. They laughed, made him go back. He jumped overboard 10 minutes later. They never found his body. Below deck, the air was cold, not just chilly, freezing. And the galley stove was still lit. One man touched the wall. His skin blistered. Not from heat, from ice. The logbook ended mid-word. No last entry, no record of panic. Just the final line. We heard them breathing in the floorboards. The crew's beds were full, but with folded uniforms, neatly placed, still warm, still damp. And beside each one, a spoon, covered in frost. The captain's cabin was sealed from the inside. They broke the door open. He was sitting at his desk, eyes open, pen in hand, mouth wide as if mid-scream, but frozen solid, literally frozen. And on the paper in front of him, they want our heat. They don't need our bodies. A medical team boarded the ship the next day. Within hours, 2 of them collapsed. Hypothermia. Inside a locked room heated to 22 degrees. One died. Before he did, he whispered, "The cold's inside now." The Gullwind was towed to harbor. That night, the dock burned to the waterline. No witnesses. No storm. Just one word scratched into the charred wood. Hungry.
The salvage crew didn't talk about what they saw. They towed the Gullwind in silence. But one man never went below deck. He stood at the rail the whole way, muttering to himself in a language no one recognized. By the time they reached Halifax, he was missing. His coat was left folded on the pier, still steaming, still wet. The ship was impounded, covered, locked, guards posted. But on the third night, a sentry walked off his post barefoot into the harbor. He drowned in 3 feet of water, smiling. The coroner made a report. He called it cold water suicide. Except the man's lungs were full of steam, not water, not air, steam, from inside. They moved the Gullwind inland for investigation, stripped it, dismantled it, burned the infected wood. But the frost kept coming back, on every tool, on every wall, even on the skin of the workers. One man opened a crate from the lower hold. Inside, rations, perfectly preserved, except for the middle tin. It was full of teeth. Human teeth, still warm. The harbor records room caught fire. Everything connected to the ship was destroyed, except for one drawer they forgot to open. Inside, a single file. It wasn't paper. It was skin, tanned, folded, and written on. They are not dead. They are not warm. They wait where it's cold. The officer who found it disappeared the next morning. His uniform was found hanging in his closet, still dripping. From the ceiling above, ice, shaped like fingers, reaching down. They built the chamber 30 feet underground. Concrete walls, reinforced steel doors, no windows. Temperature locked at -30 degrees Celsius. Inside, the last remaining plank from the Gullwind's lower deck. It still dripped, but not water, not ice, just something thicker and alive. They kept it frozen, studied it, tried to scrape a sample. The metal tool cracked in the scientist's hand, then his glove, then 3 of his fingers, split clean open, but no blood came out, only steam, screaming hot, as if his body had been boiling from inside. The rest of the team left. Only one technician remained, Milo Brenner, 23, maintenance. He worked in silence, didn't speak to anyone, just took notes. Until one night, he locked himself in the blast freezer and refused to come out. They thought it was a breakdown, but then they read what he'd written on the inside of the freezer door. I heard them breathing in the vents. He spoke once, on the 4th day, just one line. I saw their breath move the frost. Then silence. When they forced the door open, he was still alive, sitting calmly, but his skin had frozen into the shape of screaming, mouth open, fingers clawed, eyes wide, with frost on the inside of the lenses. His heartbeat was normal, but he wouldn't blink, wouldn't move, wouldn't close his mouth. And they realized his breath was still visible, but the room wasn't cold anymore. They turned off the lights. On the thermal scanner, they saw shapes behind him. 14 of them, standing still, cold, breathing.
Dr. Felix Monroe was the last to walk out. He didn't resign. He didn't flee. He just walked out of the facility. No bag, no shoes, no goodbye. Just a coat soaked in melted frost. They found him 2 weeks later, living alone in an abandoned lighthouse. Nails over the windows, salt poured in a perfect circle around his bed. He'd scratched mirrors out of every surface, even the water basin, even his eyes. He wasn't blind, not really. He said the mirrors were showing too much, not his face. Others, standing behind him, waiting, breathing, still wearing sailor uniforms. He only spoke at night, only after 3 a.m. He said that's when they stop pretending they're not there. His notebook was found after he vanished. One page was repeated again and again. If you see their breath, it's too late. Another page had a crude map. A place marked in the middle of the ocean. No wind zone. Do not sail. At the bottom of the final page, just 4 words. They're looking for heat. The notebook was passed to a naval archivist for cataloging. He brought it home to transcribe. By the 3rd night, his apartment dropped to minus 15 degrees Celsius. No open windows, no broken pipes, just frost from inside his closet. He didn't call for help, but he left a voicemail. 7 seconds. The last 3. They're breathing behind the door. Then a sound, not a scream, not a cry, just a deep, slow exhale from someone else in the room.